Yo, it's me, CSCOTT, baby, and I'm back with my review for the 1990 film Rocky V, starring Sylvester Stallone, Talia Shire, Tommy Morrison, Stage Stallone, and is directed by John G. Avildsen. How do I start this review? Let's see. Well, this is like the most hated Rocky film. People say it's the worst Rocky film. People hate on this film. They say it's terrible. And I actually kind of like it. Now, keep this in mind, the first time I watched it, I didn't like it at all. The fact that Rocky loses his money right away, he has to go back to where he was at the beginning of the first film. The fact that there is no boxing match and he has to train this guy who's a total jackass to him and just wants money. And George Washington Duke won't shut the fuck up. And by the end of the film, he hasn't really gone anywhere. It just kind of pissed me off, you know? It's like, no, okay, they're right. This is the terriblest, the worst Rocky film. It's absolutely horrible, you know. But that's when I first watched it. When I was renting these movies from Hollywood Video so I could watch them all. In the library, too. I think it was the library, actually, I got them from. Here's the thing. A couple years ago, they're having a Rocky marathon. And I was like, you know, they played this one. Maybe it was more than a couple years ago. But I'm like, you know, I'll just keep watching. And I watched this. And by the end of the film, I found myself really liking it. And I couldn't understand why. And I think, and watching it now, I think I understand why. Why I actually like this film. I don't hate any of the Rocky films for any reason. Alright, and I think I figured it out. So, I pointed out the key problems with this film. Rocky automatically loses all his money like right away in the start of the film. There is no big boxing match against the guy, number 3. He trains a guy that turns on him just because he wants money and fame and fortune. George Washington Duke, the guy that uses the guy to turn on Rocky, won't shut the fuck up and leave Rocky alone. 4 basic points of this movie that pissed me out the first time I watched it. Also, maybe that the Robert stuff maybe isn't too important. I mean, being pissed off at that point. But, okay, so the stuff from the beginning. Rocky losing his money. When I first watched this, I was pissed because what was the point of him going from the bottom all the way to the top, then to go back to the bottom again? Well, now that I know more about this movie and I realize that, you know, I know that Stallone wanted to take this back to its roots. Like, Rocky really had gotten out of hand with the way, I mean, Rocky IV was the highest grossing Rocky movie at the time. But it had become a circus. 3 and 4, they're circuses. Stallone directing, you got Thunder Lips, baby, and Ivan Drago, I Must Break You. Living in America, and come on, I want Balboa. Give me Balboa. Come on, I paid it for it, give me Balboa. It's like, it's a circus. So you go from that, and then you go to Rocky V, and you get the original director of the original Rocky back, and you set it in the same place as the original Rocky, and you tone it down, and you make it more of a drama, and you kind of bring it back full circle. If you think of it this way, him losing his money is not so bad. How they go about it with some kind of power of attorney, I don't think that would actually work, but he needed to lose his money. Okay, number 2. No big fight at the end. You know, I'll intertwine it with 3. Tommy Gunn. I'll intertwine all 3 of these. So, George Washington Duke right away. I mean, because the first shot, of course, is Rocky IV showing it again. And then he's in the shower butt-ass naked, and he's shaking. He's really taking a lot from this fight. And he's told he can't fight ever again. And even though he said he was going to, it was, obvious he was going to retire after it anyways, it said Rocky IV. But he's done. Right away, you got George Washington Duke pestering this guy. He was just in the fight of his life. His hands are shaking and everything. He gets out the plane. He finally gets to see his son after, being away. And George Washington Duke, at this press conference in front of God and everybody, starts passing him for a title shot against his fighter, Union Kane. And he says, no, I ain't doing that anymore. But does he give up? No. He keeps coming back. Most annoying times, Tommy Gunn, who's trying to, have Rocky teach him so he can go be trained just like Rocky, keeps getting interrupted by George Washington Duke. And yes, I know that was part of the plot so that they can hook up later. I get that. But George Washington Duke, Now Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn, he explains his backstory, how his old man would beat him and his mother, and when he got big and strong, he beat up his old man. Now he wants to learn how to fight. He wants to be trained by Rocky. He's being trained and stuff. And then the fame, the fortune, they come calling. George Washington Duke brings him in, and he does it for the money. And even though Rocky was the one that got him to the point where he was, to where he was 20-0, it was Rocky who helped him. He won the title, and he dedicates it to George Washington Duke. Bull fucking shit. Duke set up the title shot, don't get me wrong. But all the steps you took to get there was Rocky. And I tell you what, the most hated character of this whole entire franchise for me is Tommy Gunn. I fucking hate him, and we'll get to the reason why. And was the third thing here was no big fight at the end. But that's not what they were going for. It wasn't supposed to be Rocky training for this big old fight. It's just supposed to be Rocky proving he's still got what it takes, but not needing to go out into a spectacle. That's what Stallone wanted to avoid by taking it back to the beginning. He didn't want an all-out spectacle like 3 and 4. He wanted it to be back to basics in this little fight, And you get hints of the old Rocky stuff. Take it back. Do, take it back. Oh yeah, take it back. Is that this one? Or I know it's in Rocky Balboa, but I think they do it in here too. And then you get the whole Father Carmine thing that was from Rocky 2 that comes back. And this whole feel of, watching those first 2, which I really enjoyed watching. And you go to this, and it kind of gets that feel back with you. So, yeah. And one of the big reasons why I think I like this film now, as opposed to when I first watched it, is because I'm a father now. I wasn't when I first watched it. So, I'm going with this. The father-son drama where Rocky's paying more attention to Tommy Gunn than he is of his own son. But here's the problem with that. It's not Rocky's fault at all. And that's why I think the fight that Adrian has with him in the middle of the street isn't really warranted. Not entirely. As it's not really Rocky's fault. She wasn't there to see what was going on. So she wouldn't know. She only saw the way her son was acting about this stuff. Not what was going on to set it off. Most of the time, every time that Robert would try to talk to his dad about something, Tommy would interrupt. Like specifically, after Robert beats the hell out of the guy that stole his jacket, he comes back to tell his dad what he did. And Rock's like, oh, it's great, kid. I'm proud of it, it's great. And then Tommy's like, hey, yo, Rock, I'm getting cold over here, Oh, hey, I'll talk to you later, Every time the kid tries to talk to him, Tommy drags Rocky back over. It's not really Rocky's fault. Tommy wants all the attention focused on him. So really, once again, Tommy's the asshole. When you first introduce to Tommy, you see him as this guy who could be sympathetic, but as the movie goes on, you see he's very selfish and he only wants one thing, and that's the title. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to be trained by Rocky to be like Rocky. He wants to be trained by Rocky so he can get the money, so he can get the women, so he can get the title. That's all he wants. He doesn't care. And I'm about to tell you why I fucking hate the guy. He's my most hated character. The character I love the most in these movies is Paulie. And there's the scene at the bar where he and Tommy Gunn comes in. They're going at it. They're yelling at each other. Paulie gets in his face and he punches Paulie. And I remember a couple years ago when I watched this again, when I was talking about it, and he did that. I stood up and I said, "Fuck no, you don't punch Paulie." And I was ready for Rocky to knock the fuck out of him. Another thing I like about this, that actually gets me a little bit teary-eyed. You get sort of a retcon with a flashback with Mickey, and you can tell that it was specifically filmed for this because Burgess Meredith is a lot older in this. And they're just sort of retcon with these boxing glove cufflinks that belonged to Rocky Marciano. And they show a flashback of him given to him, and he says the line, "Get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you." And it gets to the fight. It gets to this, the street fight with him and Tommy Gunn. And Tommy gets him down. And you start seeing all these flashes of all his fights and everything he's been through. And then at the very end, you see Mickey and he goes, "Get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you." And then Rocky gets up and he starts whipping ass. And he starts going. And then you got Robert yelling at him. And I kind of laughed at this because he's like, "Yeah, get him. He took my room." I'm like, took your room. He wasn't even in your room that much. But yeah, and you see Paulie holding him back. And then Adrian's there. And there's the big fight and everything. And of course, Rocky beats the guy in this street fight. And then you get, George Washington Duke is there. "You touch me, I sue. You touch me, I sue." And he knocks him out. And he's like, "Sue me for what?" "Well, Rocky, I know you don't have any money. He can still sue you. Just because you don't have any money doesn't mean you can't still get sued. I'm just saying." And then we get the last shot, which I thought was actually pretty cool. Is they run up the steps. He and Robert run up the steps. He gives him the cut link. And Robert's like, "What do you think?" Because he had an earring earlier in the film. He's like, "Oh, hey, it's like the daughter I always wanted." And he kind of laughs. And then he never knew there was a museum on the steps. He just ran up the steps for 20 years and never knew. And then we get this montage of all the moments from all 5 films set to "Measure of a Man" by Elton John. And this is what really gets me, is that it shows you everything from the past 5 films. This was supposed to be the ending. It was supposed to be the last film. But because people hated on this movie so much, it wasn't. Now, I like Rocky Balboa, and I like the 2 Creed movies. And even if there was no Rocky Balboa, they could still do the Creed movies. So it's not that. But if there was no Rocky Balboa, and we just went to Creed from this point, I would absolutely be fine with it. If this was the last Rocky film, we never got any more, I would still be fine with it. Because in my mind, it still has a heart. It might not be the spectacle of what a Rocky movie had become at this point, but it still has the heart of a Rocky film. Which is why I can't hate this film. I actually really enjoy watching this film. I don't mind doing a marathon and watching this with it, not skipping to Balboa, which some sort of retcons one of the storylines in this film, and that's with Robert. And we'll get to that when I do the Rocky Balboa review, but I'm just saying. So, I know you guys will probably sit there saying, "Oh, I'd give it a 2. Oh, I won't even give it a 1. I'll give it a 0 like Stallone." No. For me, Rocky 5 gets a 7. Yes, I acknowledge it's not the best Rocky film. Is it the worst? I don't really know anymore. Honestly, with this film series, whenever I put it at the bottom, I probably wouldn't consider the worst, just least best. And most. But yeah, it's a 7. So what are your thoughts on Rocky 5? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.